Three news stories as usual for you viewers. Firstly, we'll talk about a Tigrayan lady based in the US working as a reporter for CBS News. Her name is Hermela Aregawi. She has shared some tweets. Amhara news sources are sharing her tweets. The lady is under fire from Tigray-backed news sources. Amhara news sources are praising her. We'll talk about this lady, Hermela Aregawi. Secondly, in several previous videos, we have talked about the role of Afar forces in the ongoing fighting inside Amhara region. Since yesterday, we have been hearing from some sources that Afar forces are trying to enter Tigray and Amhara as well. It's a very significant development if Afar forces are joining this fight. I have some official positions from Afar, TDF and Amhara sides. We'll talk about that, official positions of these parties, and are Afar forces really joining this war or not? And thirdly, in a previous video we talked about a second weapon being used by Ethiopian government against Tigray Defense Force. Petrol, viewers, fuel. I told you that Ethiopian government was not allowing any fuel tankers into Tigray. Today, UNOCHA, United Nations Office for the Coordination of Humanitarian Affairs in Ethiopia issued a statement about the situation of fuel supplies to Tigray. We'll talk about that. Firstly was Hermela Aregawi is a Tigrayan based in the US. Her family is in Ethiopia. She is working as a reporter for CBS News. She has shared some tweets. She says that Tigray rebels are blocking aid supplies to Tigray because they do not want Abiy Ahmed government to look good. Two other things she has mentioned in her tweets. Firstly, let's talk about this first tweet that Tigray government is blocking this aid to Tigray because it does not want Abiy Ahmed government to look good. Well, if you want to talk about humanitarian situation in Tigray, if you want to talk about aid supplies to Tigray, you can easily sort out facts and rumors by contacting aid workers, aid agencies. They are on the ground. They know what's happening. They know who is blocking, who is allowing aid to Tigray. So it's not difficult for a reporter of CBS News to contact an aid agency, to contact aid workers on the ground, to get the real picture. I am in Pakistan. I'm not working with any international news outlets. I have managed to get in touch with some aid workers on the ground. No, the real picture is that Tigray government is not blocking aid deliveries to Tigray. It wants aid for its people, for its military as well. We know that part of this aid which is arriving in Tigray, it's going to military as well, the TDF as well. Why would Tigray's government starve its people and its force, its military? If no aid arrives in Tigray, TDF wouldn't be able to fight. Tigray government needs aid, it's not blocking. Problem with Ethiopian government is that it wants to ensure that no aid reaches Tigray Defense Force. That is why it is blocking, it is slowing down the supply of aid to Tigray, because it knows that this aid is bound to reach Tigray Defense Force. Civilians will also get the aid supplies, but TDF will also get a portion of this aid supplies. That is why Ethiopian government is slowing down the pace of aid delivery to Tigray, because it wants to ensure that no aid reaches Tigray Defense Force. But in this process, civilians are being deprived of the aid which they deserve to have. Secondly, she says that if you condemn civilian killings in Tigray, why don't you condemn young soldiers who are being killed? Yes, here I would agree with her that the soldiers do not have a control over what's happening in Tigray, ENDF soldiers, Amhara soldiers. We should condemn whether soldiers are being killed or civilians. And thirdly, she said that Diaspora is raising funds for an ethnic war. Yes, again, I would agree with her that Ethiopian diaspora on both sides, it should play a more constructive role. It should join hands to call for peace. It should not just raise funds for Tigray or for Amhara. Here I would agree with her. And lastly, she says that there has been inconsistencies about the fighting, about the war in Tigray. That is why her perspective has evolved over the last 10 months. It's a war. Propaganda is part of a war. For decades, propaganda has always been part of war. Being a reporter, it's the duty of reporters to distinguish between propaganda and facts. It will happen. Propaganda will be spread by both sides, by all sides. It's part of a war. It happens in wars. Secondly, what is Afar forces? Let's talk about Afar forces. Have they joined Amhara forces? Are they trying to enter Tigray from Afar? Tigray shares border with Afar. Amhara also shares border with Afar. Since yesterday, we have been hearing that Afar forces, they are joining the fight. They're trying to enter Tigray proper as well. Officially, we saw a statement from Tigray's government yesterday. Tigray's government has confirmed that some attacks have been carried out on TDF, on civilians in Tigray by Afar forces. And TDF is calling upon elders in Afar that a conspiracy is being hatched to make Tigray and Afar fight. Afar official sources have not said anything else. They are neither rejecting nor acknowledging that Tigray is being attacked by Afar forces. Amhara news sources are sharing this information that Afar forces are trying to enter. They are saying they have entered Tigray and they have entered Amhara as well to support Amhara forces. Now, what I have learned from some sources is that people in Afar are angry, viewers, because TDF carried out an offensive on Afar more than a month ago. TDF suffered losses, it had to withdraw from Afar. People are angry there, no doubt about that. Government is under pressure from the people. And I wouldn't be surprised if Afar forces join Amhara forces. On Tigray Afar border areas, on Amhara Afar border areas, there has been some clashes between Tigray Defense Force and Afar forces. Afar official sources say that Afar forces are trying to take control of border areas which are part of Afar. They're trying to push TDF out of those areas on Tigray Afar border which are part of Afar. But that just shows that fighting on Tigray Afar, on Amhara Afar border areas between TDF and Afar forces is underway in some places. Again, as I've been saying in previous videos, that Afar forces could put pressure upon TDF if they join the fight from the east to support Amhara forces. Lastly, it was more than a week ago, I told you about a second weapon being used by Ethiopian government against Tigray Defense Force. I told you that no fuel tankers were being allowed into Tigray from Afar to cripple Tigray Defense Force. Today we got a confirmation from UNOCHA. UN body says that the last fuel tankers which arrived in Tigray, they entered Tigray on the 29th of July. So after 29th of July till today, no fuel tankers have entered Tigray. Secondly, UNOCHA says that aid agencies operating in Tigray were using fuel tankers of WFP, World Food Programme. But these fuel tankers of WFP have also been exhausted on the 17th of September. There is no fuel available for aid agencies in Tigray to operate. So that is what on the ground situation is. Here again, Ethiopian government wants to ensure that no fuel reaches Tigray Defense Force. It wants to cripple the movement of TDF vehicles, tanks, artillery, trucks. That is why it's not allowing fuel tankers into Tigray. If you don't allow fuel tankers into Tigray, not only will TDF suffer, the people of Tigray will also suffer. Aid agencies will not be able to carry out their operations. That is what's happening. Thank you for watching.